for better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. 7 years now on this boat, and we all know where we belong. Just wait. For our home to show on the horizon, soon we'll be there. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore when we can't read the sky.
Hi everyone, you're all very welcome to episode 28 of the Fraochknits podcast. I'm coming to you from the west of Ireland. My name is Anya and I am podcasting, bringing you a knitting podcast from County Mayo in Ireland, where I live with my son and our 2 cats. And so hope you're all doing well. It's taken me a while to get set up today. The light is doing funny things. It's a really bright spring day and the light's coming and going with a cloudy sky and bright sunshine, and also trying to get the focus set up. All these technical issues. So I'm just going to sit back and relax now and chat to you. So I hope you've got a nice hot cup of something, or a cold cup of something, depending wherever you are and what your weather conditions are. It's still very cold, well, not very cold, it's actually milder now in this part of the world, but it's still sort of breezy enough to be wearing jumpers like the one I have on, which I don't know if I've ever spoken to you about this one before. But before we get into the knitting, I just want to say thanks a million to everybody who has subscribed. Welcome all the new subscribers since the last podcast and also the last episode. And also thank you so much to everybody who has contributed on Ko-fi. I really, really appreciate the support there. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, and hopefully we'll get out to more viewers. So thanks first of all for all those things, and it's a real pleasure to be back with you again today. My podcast will be the usual format of what I'm wearing, finished objects, don't think I have any of those today, works in progress and future plans, and then I do a second little bit at the end which deals with Irish cultural heritage and often to deal with things like nature or our language, the Irish language. And today I'll be looking at a really interesting aspect of Irish heritage, which is our food heritage, our food history. And that's something that I hadn't really focused on before in any of my reading, and it's a book was given to me by my sister for my birthday, which was a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to be looking at that book with you. And that book is literally called Irish Food History, a companion, I think, just really recently published, and it's a collection of essays, academic essays on studies in Irish food history. So really interesting topic, and if you want to stay around for that, feel free to join me. You're really, really welcome. And if not, then that's okay too, that's grand. Should we get into the knitting now? So I hope you've all been enjoying what you've been knitting on. I have done quite a bit of knitting actually since my last episode, last podcast back a month ago. I've had a fair bit of knitting time. We had 2 weeks of Easter holidays and my work was reasonably quiet, so I had a decent bit of knitting time, which is really nice. I didn't do any sewing at all, so I seem to be going between, you know, completely one or the other at the moment. Maybe that's just a thing as well. Once you get into a project, you just want to stick at it, whether it's knitting or sewing, and to pull yourself away from one or the other is a little bit difficult. So I am wearing what I'm wearing then. I'm wearing a jumper which actually has been around for 5 years. This was knit in August 2020 when I had my aunt from Texas. Hi Auntie Anna, if you're watching. And if you remember me knitting this, if you're watching this podcast, I'll have to tell my cousin Brendan to let her know. They're living in Texas, which I'm sure is probably, well, generally too hot for this type of jumper. But anyway, yeah, so this was knit 5 years ago, and as you can see, there's a couple of problems with it. So I have a hole in the elbow here, and I have threadbare elbow here, and I have the sleeves are completely worn away. So this is the childhood sweater by Ankestrick, and it's knit in Old Centrum yarn, and the Old Centrum is their brown colour. I can't remember, I think it's medium brown. I absolutely adore this yarn. I adore this design. It's I think the contiguous sleeve shoulder, so you're doing the shoulder shaping that runs straight into the sleeve, and there's a false seam down the sleeves, and there is a beautiful ribbed collar. The only problem with this ribbed collar is that it continuously wants to roll over, so I'm not sure. I've always thought I might put in a bit of elastic, but I've never gotten around to doing that. So anyway, here we are, still looking at this sweater 5 years later. I can't believe it. So this is one of the first pieces that I knit, garments that I knit when I started knitting back in 2019, and it was knit on 3.5mm needles, so it took ages to knit. At the time it seemed like a long time. I didn't know how to do stretchy bind offs, so that's why these bind offs that are still surviving, because they were really tight in the cuffs. And so I've learned a lot, I think, since I knit this, but I adore the positive ease on it. I also didn't know anything about gauge, so the gauge is about 20 stitches on this, I think, and the pattern gauge is for about 24. So I think it's written for fingering weight, and this is a sport weight yarn. So everything was a bit off, but I absolutely love the result. So what I want to do, I suppose this is an effort to, I've just been looking at my wardrobe and seeing, you know, am I using my knits? Obviously I've really used this one an awful lot, but I've stopped using it now. I've stopped wearing it so much. Certainly I can't wear it out anymore because of the holes in the sleeves. I can still wear it when I'm working at my desk. So I've thought the plan would be, instead of doing patches, this is so badly worn and it's so badly threadbare that I think what I'm going to do is actually rip back to a point above where the hole is in the arm and where it's threadbare on this side. So rip the sleeves back and then just reknit them, because I have plenty of this yarn actually, or at least I have about 2 skeins of it, so I definitely have, I'd say probably I would only need 100 grams maybe to do the 2 arms, or maybe a little bit more for the 2 sleeves, and that's what I'm thinking of doing. And while I'm doing that, then I might try and do something with the collar so that it stands up, because I really love the look of, that's one of the reasons I chose this pattern actually, was because of the collar which stands up. And I don't know whether it's because the yarn I used, I don't really know how the designer managed to get her collar to stand up, because it is a lightweight yarn. I don't think it's heavier than fingering weight, and yeah, so I'm not sure how that was achieved, but anyway, I might put in a little bit of elastic into this and see does that help to stand up. So that's what I'm wearing. I have a load of works in progress rather to show you, because excuse me, because as I said, I have been doing a load of knitting. I've no finished objects, so everything's sort of halfway through, so I hope that's okay. I'm sure you won't mind. The first one I'm going to show you is one that I'm really excited about. So this is a Soldotna crop by Caitlin Hunter, This is the second time that I've attempted to do this. My first one was knit about 2 years ago, I think it was 2022, and it was October actually 2023, not 2022, October 23 I think, and that was, you've seen that a couple of times, I've shown it on the podcast, and it was knit mainly with Life in the Long Grass, held double with fingering weight yarn, held double with silk mohair. And the silk mohair in that sweater was, that version of it was actually, if you look back at the, I think it's episode number 17, I talk about it in my podcast, so if you want to see that video, I talk all about the previous one and the yarns used. They were Pearl Soho yarns, the silk mohair. So this time around I am using yarn that again is Life in the Long Grass, and I had 4 skeins which I was using these 4 skeins for, you'll probably recognise them if you've been watching for a while, but these were skeins that were being put into a second version of the MCAL from last year, the Mystery Knit Along from Stephen West, the Go-Go Dynamo Shawl. So I was attempting to knit a second one at the same time, and I did get a fair bit of the way through it, but it became a whip, a long-standing whip, and I went back to the bag recently and I thought, oh, I really don't think I have the energy to plough all the way through another MCAL, another Go-Go Dynamo Shawl, and instead then I said no, I want to use, these are really, really beautiful yarns. I'm missing the 4th one. Where is it gone? Oh, here it is. So there's the 4th one. Look how beautiful these yarns are. They're absolutely gorgeous, the colours. And these were all bought from the Life in the Long Grass website, from their ready to ship yarns. So they're all sort of unusual, one-off. I don't know if they are still around. The colours, these 2 were bought as a pair. They were a summer kit, shawl kit I think, and this one has a name on it. So these don't have names, and this one is called Shield, and it's a sort of mermaidy colour, I call it, or a unicorn-like colour with lots of pinks and purples and blues. And this one is called Mineral, and these are merino singles, these 3, and this one is a sock yarn, so it's a little bit thinner and it's got nylon in it, but I just adore the shades of blue. I hope they're coming out in the camera. I don't know what the light is like today. The sun is really bright, so I'm hoping that's coming out and you can see the colours of the yarns. So these 4 yarns just seem to me to be way too good to not put into one garment. I didn't really want to put them into a shawl anymore because I'm finding I really don't wear my shawls as much as I thought I would. I love wearing my hood that I made recently. I love wearing cowls. I did a carousel cowl, which I wear a lot. That's Eleanor Mortensen, I think is the name of the designer there, and I did obviously the cowl by the Irish designer Thread Softly. And so those small things I find I'm wearing a lot more than a big shawly scarf thing. So I just thought I'm not going to knit one of those for a while anyway. I'm going to stick to my garments. I'm getting back into garment knitting, and I want to show you as well the silk mohairs that I used with these. So I have, by the way, my bag as well. I wanted to show you my bag. So this is a beautiful souvenir of my trip to the Pyrenees. I went skiing in Cauterets, if anybody's familiar with it, in the very, very far south of France, on the border with Spain, in the Pyrenees, and I adore the style of the sort of 50s colours in the bag, and the gorgeous red of the cable cars. So I couldn't resist this bag, and I thought it was just in a souvenir shop. I think it cost me about €10 or something. It was so cheap, and it was actually it's made in Spain. I think it says made in Spain, and yeah, Cotteret was an amazing experience. It's actually very close to Lourdes, which are Lourdes, I'm sure there's a better way of pronouncing that town. Irish people pronounce it Lourdes. It's a place of pilgrimage, and a lot of people, I mean, I've known loads of people who've gone there, and people, if they're sick or if they need help in some way, they'll go there, and it's a place of miracles, basically, a place where the Virgin Mary appeared to children, I think back in the, I'm not sure when it was it the 19th century? And there are links to Knock in County Mayo, which is another site where Mary appeared to children, and that is very close to where I live here. Well, the airport is there actually. There's an airport in Knock, which is about an hour away from me. Anyway, all that aside, we were skiing in Cotteret. We had an amazing, it was the end of January, amazing weather, amazing snow. Too much snow almost, and we had a lot of wind, and they had to close down some of the lifts some of the days because of the wind. But anyway, we had a fabulous time, really, really good. I got my fix of snow for the year, because you just don't get snow in this country, so we need to go to some other part of Europe to experience proper snow. So that was such a treat. So to get back to this bag is holding all of the yarn for this sweater. So the silk mohairs that I'm using are all Irish. Actually, every single bit of yarn in this sweater is an Irish yarn. I've got Life from the Long Grass for all of the fingering weight, and then the mohair is a mixture of woolly mammoth fibres. These are the two indigo dyed skeins that I got before Christmas from Woolly Mammoth, and then I have these two beautiful skeins here, which were picked up as souvenirs from last August when I was down in West Cork in Bantry Yarns. It's a lovely little yarn shop down there that I always like to support when I'm visiting West Cork. And this one is it's from Ullen, which is, I think they've stopped dyeing now. Although I thought, Glow, it's handwritten, so I couldn't see that it's called Glow. And this is a really stunning pink colour. And then this is my favourite. This one is Hedgehog Fibres, and it's called Purple Rain, or EIGN, Purple Rain. There we go. So I am combining all of these colours. It took me ages I swatched several times to try and get the right combination of colours. Initially I was doing a really dark navy for the main colour, or this colour one, and then I decided to hold the mineral, which is that really deep blue sock yarn. I held that double with the Cirrus, which is the light blue from Woolly Mammoth Fibres, their silk mohair, and it gives the most gorgeous it's almost denim colour, which I think I'd really like a whole sweater out of, actually, to be honest with you. If I was going to invest in those yarns, I would love that. So this is where I am. I've done this literally in about, I'd say, 4 days. Because I've knit this before, just to note that there are a few modifications as well, and they're very similar they're exactly the same modifications as I made on the last sweater, the last version of this that I did. So yeah. So I was just about to tell you there of the modifications that I made to the Soldotna crop by Caitlin Hunter. So the opening up for the neck here is actually the largest size, and I think there are 12 sizes altogether, and I'm knitting the size 5, so this is about 7 sizes bigger than the rest of the sweater is going to be. And the reason that I did this is because this happened actually after I had finished knitting my first version of it, and what happened was I noticed that the collar was right up around my neck, and that's not the way the jumper or the design appears when it's on certainly on the hanger anyway in the pattern. It looks like it's a much wider collar, and I love wide open collars unless I'm wearing something like this, which is completely different. A funnel neck is its own design, but I think when I have it open, like a crew neck, I want it to be sort of open, wide open. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because I have narrow shoulders and it makes my shoulders look wider if I do that, or for some reason it just looks better on me. So that's why I decided after I'd finished knitting the first Soldotna, I actually ripped back down to the colour work. So I ripped back as far as the colour work, and I re-knit back up, and just did a different series of decreases, and much fewer of them. So this time when I started, I cast on the most amount of stitches for the collar, and then I changed the increases. Everything is the same basically from the collar down to about the third increase in the colour work, which I omitted then. I think that's what I did, and then I omitted the fifth increase as well. Basically I just worked out how many stitches I was going to have at the very end of the process for my body, or the body and sleeve stitches together before splitting for the sleeves. That number, I needed to reach that, and I needed to get from here to there without doing the number of increases that are written into the yoke. So I just picked the rows where there was no colour work, essentially, like the increase rows with no colour work. So there are a couple of rows that are just pure one colour, and it's easy to increase and decrease in them because it's not going to affect the pattern, the colour work pattern. So that's what I did, and I really love the effect. I've tried this on, I love the way it sits on my neck and shoulders, and I adore the fabric that the singles, merino singles, the finger and weight yarn held double with the silk mohair. I just adore that fabric. So I tried a whole load of different swatches in woollier yarns. This is not from this time now. I mean, I would have made these maybe last year sometime. I've always wanted to knit another one of these, so I made these swatches here using Old Centrum. These are all Old Centrum. These are using, I think, some Hillisfog yarns with Old Centrum. The green is Solier, I think. And yeah, so these are just some swatches. I mean, that's quite a big swatch. There are two separate colour schemes there. There's a sort of there's a darker one there, and a less high contrast one, and a more high contrast. And I went through this phase of really trying so many different colours, and this is super high contrast here as well, and I just didn't like any of them. So, and I let it go for a while. And I actually came back to thinking that, you know what, I actually really wanted a one with the same fabric but different colours, and the colours that I really wanted were a navy. I was thinking of a navy and a light blue, and I wanted them to be really summery. So this blue to me is a really summery colour, and the pink as well. They're all really sort of light colours. And then by lightening up the this to a denim blue rather than a dark blue, I think I got a really nice summery sort of effect on the whole thing. So this probably won't take me very much longer to knit. I'm really enjoying it. The feel of this is absolutely incredible, and when you add up the cost of this yarn, I mean, it is an expensive piece, but these are just things that are going to last, you know, and they're really, really, really precious. And all of these yarns, I think, were sort of bought, you know, one here, one there, sort of all came together really, because I just had a thing about those colours at the time. And I'm glad that the yarn is going into a garment as well, rather than a shawl that I probably won't wear or will wear very seldom. So that's another one of mine. So these two really are ways of, I suppose, this is you reusing a sweater that I've had for ages and repairing it, and this one is using yarns that I was, you know, that have been sitting around idle for a while, and we're going to be going into a shawl, which I wouldn't probably wear that much. So I'm trying to just really be conscious of what I'm doing with the yarns that I have. So really enjoying that project, and I highly recommend it. It just looks great on everybody. It's a really nice shape. I mean, Caitlin Hunter's shapes, like the shape for sweaters, I just think they look great on everybody, and I love them. I want to do more of them, but haven't really matched yarn to any of her designs so far. I really like the idea of the halibut, and I know she's come out with a salmon one as well, which is absolutely incredible. I don't know, I love the halibut and I love seeing it on other people. I don't know if I'd wear it though, but it's just a really brilliant design. She's an amazing designer, one of my favourite. So her and Ankestrick. Ankestrick is the designer of this one. So on to my next work in progress. and that is this here. What should I do? So this is another rehash of something that I have already knit, or it's the second time. So I don't think I've ever knit the same design twice before, and here I am now knitting a second Soldotna crop, and I'm knitting a second Felix pullover. So this is the Felix sweater, or Felix pullover, by very, very, very famous by Savoury Knitting. I forget her actual name. Anyway, it's really, really simple, gorgeous, very, very wearable piece. So it again can be knit slightly cropped, I think. It's a simple sweater. I suppose its main features are the fact that it has these eyelets in the increases on the raglan. So it's a raglan top, raglan sweater with eyelet increases. And the other really remarkable thing about it is the gauge that it's knit at. So this is knit on huge 6mm needles. Oh, by the way, I meant to say for the Soldotna that I'm knitting, I went up a needle size to 4mm. I think she does 3.5 or something. And that's okay if you're knitting with the DK weight yarn, but I went up to the 4 to get a better open gauge, I think, with the silk mohair and the fingering weight held together. It's a 4mm. Even though I'm a loose knitter, so I should be going down, but with this I just preferred the fabric. It's a really, really soft, almost summery, but the mohair fills in the gaps, so it's gorgeous, lightweight fabric. Anyway, this one is also lightweight because it's such an open gauge. So big 6mm needles, 5.5 for the ribbing, and that's pretty much it. I am past the sleeves. Again, this took me only a few nights knitting because I've knitted before, and the last time I knitted, oh yeah, I did have a recommendation or a tip actually for anybody who hasn't knit this already and hasn't discovered the sort of crazy part of the pattern where you get to very, very quickly at the beginning, where you're changing needle sizes from the ribbing needle to your 5.5 to your 6, from your ribbing to your main needle. And what happens is she has you doing short rows. So on that changeover from one needle to the other, and I was going, what if I go back? I'm back onto the old needle size, and then I go forward, and I couldn't figure out how to make it work. Doing short rows when you're changing from one needle to the other. So I just decided it wrecked my head for, this is when I was knitting it before, it wrecked my head for a while, and then I said, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm actually just going to knit a round of knitting, a knit row, using my, changing my needle sizes. So that's what I did, and I did the same thing this time very quickly when I realised what was happening and remembered what I had done the last time. So do one round of knitting before you go into your short rows. And the other tricky thing about this is the short rows include the yarn overs, and that again wrecked my head this time. But once you're past the short rows, it's actually, if you follow the pattern closely, you can't go wrong. It's really well written. It's nothing to do with the pattern, it's to do with the head wrecking of, yeah, putting in a few yarn overs either side of your markers. But when you're doing the short rows, you're only doing them, it's funny, I don't really know if I'm right about this, but you're only doing them every second time you pass. So yeah, don't quote me on that. Anyway, when you get round to the point where you're knitting in the round and you're past the short rows, this all becomes memorable. And I remember hearing somebody say this, and I thought, how can you remember that pattern? But doing it the second time, I could actually remember the sequence of yarn overs and how often they appear, and then yeah, in the pattern until you get to the split for the sleeves. So I have 6 altogether. I think I'm doing the size, can't remember which size I'm doing, the 3 actually. I'm doing the size 3, which is a 48-inch, I think, finished bust measurement, which gives me 6 inches roughly of positive ease, which is perfect. And I absolutely adore the one I knit before, which is one with stripes, and I was using up leftover Let Lopey. By the way, this is a Let Lopey yarn, so it's the Istex. It's their Aran weight. And this one was brought to my attention by when my niece asked me to knit the sweater that I featured in the last podcast, the Reykjavik Soft by Mayu Knits, and she called for this beautiful number 86, I think it's called Light Beige Heather, and it is just gorgeous. It's like a cream colour. It's a really nice neutral cream colour with heathering in it. So that's what I've used for my Felix, and I somehow wasn't tempted to knit the cardigan version of this. I know people have knit the cardigan, but I decided I'd stick with the sweater because I really like the shape of it, and I'm already knitting another cardigan, and I had just finished one from before Christmas, and I really felt like knitting a simple sweater and using the pattern that I had a second time. So that is my gorgeous, I'm just looking at it now in the late afternoon light, and it actually is really, really, really beautiful. It's really stunning. Yeah, that's just where I would have changed a ball of yarn. I'm just looking at a hole there. That's where I would have changed balls, because I was using up the end of a ball from Leish's sweater, my niece's sweater. So that is that, and that's my second work in progress. My third work in progress then is the cardigan that I was telling you about. And Ruben, can you pass me that ball of yarn? The green yarn. Thank you. So there's yarn everywhere here, and it's getting tangled up and everything. So this one is the another work in progress. It is the Hood on the Moon cardigan by Katrin Schneider. And it is a fingering weight, all over fingering weight cardigan with these contiguous sleeves, and there is this gorgeous 3x1, or is it 3x1 ribbed detail running from the neck all the way down the outside of the sleeves. So a bit like this detail of the false seam. I just love these sweaters that have, this there's something about ribbing and false seams on knitting. They just look stunning. So beautiful shaping here. You do a set of shaping that brings the sleeve out from the body, and the only drawback to this pattern is the fact, oh by the way, this is a provisional cast on, and the reason for the provisional cast on is the fact that I will be going back there to pick up the stitches to knit a hood, so it's a hooded cardigan. And the hood looks really interesting, the shape of it looks gorgeous, so I'm really looking forward to knitting that. My only sort of thing that I don't like about this is the fact that you're knitting the button band as you go, and you have to count rows to remember where to put the next buttonhole. And I think I made a slight error on the distance, the spacing of the buttonholes already, which is incredible because I thought I was writing everything down and religiously counting. But I'm not going to worry too much about it. It's only a slight difference, and it's fairly near the top. Actually, I thought it was closer to the top than it is. It's there, so it may be the case that I can leave the top open. I don't think it's going to be that noticeable anyway. So it's only a fraction of. It's about a centimetre difference. So we'll try not to focus on that. I just wasn't going to rip back. I had knit so far down with this, and this takes a long time. Because it's a 3mm needle, and you're knitting back and forth, you're knitting in the flat, so you're doing a lot of purling. Purling doesn't really bother me, to be honest. I'm an English style knitter. I don't know whether that makes a difference, whether continental knitters find purling more difficult, but purling for me is just as easy really as knitting. I don't really mind it. So that is that whip. This is, oh yeah, did I tell you what the yarn is Pearl Soho Linen Quill, and this has been in my stash for eons at this stage. It seems like it's probably about 3 years in my stash. I actually have five skeins of it, and there's about 400 meters per skein, and this the size I've chosen actually was sort of partially chosen because it's the size that will that I had enough yarn for. Because of the hood, you need an awful lot. So there's nearly just over 1900 meters required of yarn for this, and I've chosen the size 6, I think, which gives me about, it's 43.5 inches, I think, finished bust measurement, and I am a 41.5 to 42, so it'll give me the required 2 inches, roughly 2 inches of positive ease. So that, oh yeah, the other lovely thing, I was rereading the pattern there before when I was making the notes for the podcast, so that I would remember the details of it, and there's waist shaping on this as well. So after, when I get to, I've just split for the sleeves, and just a couple of inches below the split for the sleeves, the waist shaping starts. And then when you get to the bottom, you go back and you knit the sleeves, and then you knit the hood. So there's a fair bit of knitting in this. I'd say this will be a long-term project. But one thing about it is that it's reminding me of knitting the half and half triangle strap, which is also Pearl Soho, and the feel of this yarn is just second to none. It's just so relaxing to knit with, so soft. I love knitting on the small needles. It's a really meditative knit and process, and I'm really enjoying that. So that is my Hood on the Moon by Katrin Schneider. Okay, so the next work in progress is, there are 2 small ones actually. They're both, I meant to show you the, this is a little card. I kept a few of these. My friend Barbara actually gave me this little pack of, it was a sort of a folder with these sheets for recording your knitting details, and I was very dedicated at the beginning when I got this for a present, and I was putting all my details in, and now looking back at them, it's so handy, because on this, this is my Soldotna crop swatch. So there's a little swatch pocket at the back, and I have a little part of the pattern in there that has the colourwork chart on it, and the swatch goes in there. So I've saved that swatch, which I absolutely loved. I mean, I really love this that piece, the first one that I made, and that gets saved in there. But this was sort of a lifesaver coming back to knit that sweater a second time, because actually my notes told me what I had done in terms of the neckline, and yeah, so I had just said that, and also the fact that I had used a 4mm needle, because I hadn't remembered that, and the fact that I had started the colour work just after the collar, that was the change that I'd made. So all the modifications were written in there, the needle size that I'd used, the little swatch in the back, the little bit of the pattern. So these are great little sheets, and also the date. Oh my goodness, I hadn't really even noticed the date. It was actually May in 2023, so it's almost 2 years ago that I knit that now. I finished it in July. It took me a couple of months to work out. And that is, that's another little lovely thing that I used. Hi again, everyone. Just taking a little break there, and I just wanted to check that the camera was space left on the disc. So yeah, I hope you're still having a nice cup of coffee. I'm actually drinking today a cup of dandelion root coffee. I'm trying to take a break from caffeine at the moment, and I have been nearly, I think, 5 days without caffeine, which is amazing for me. And yeah, it was just becoming a little bit of a crazy habit, so I have completely cut it out this time. Normally I just cut back, but I thought, now I'm cutting out and see will it improve my sleep, because my sleep hasn't been very good, and it already, I do feel a difference. I do feel less agitated, or, you know, I mean, not that I would normally think that I would feel anxious or agitated, but I think sometimes you don't even realise, and when you cut back on something, the contrast is there, and you realise, oh, I was actually feeling a little bit wound up. So anything that's an antidote to that is good. So I'm trying this dandelion root coffee, which I can highly recommend. I get it in my local health food shop, and it's just a really nice drink. I mean, to be honest with you, it doesn't really taste like coffee at all, but it is a nice drink. So, and it's good. It has beneficial characteristics as well. You know, as well as not being coffee and being a hot drink that can be there to substitute whenever I feel like I need a coffee. So, yeah, I can highly recommend that. I can't remember what it's good for, but I think it might be for the liver. It's good for your liver. Can't remember what else. Anyway, yeah, so I was going to tell you about the last few works in progress, and actually I forgot to mention that I do have one finished object, which I'll tell you about in a second. So this is another work in progress. So this, I think I had started this in my last podcast. I was showing it to you. This is the Musselburgh hat, and I'm knitting it on 3mm needles, and it is, I think, this size adult medium. It is, the yarn is from Inspiring Yarns, which I bought. It's a hand-dyed yarn company based in Northern Ireland, I think. I bought it from the Hank's Yarn Parlour, a great shop, online shop, or at least online for me. I know there is a bricks and mortar in Belfast, which I haven't had the chance to visit yet. But this is really stunning hand-dyed yarn. As you can see, the lovely sort of variegations in the colour. And of course it's my favourite, it's green. So any shade of green will do for me. I just adore the colour green. And I'm pairing that with, I mean, this is taking so long, but it's a lovely one when I get tired of all the other things I have to think about. You just don't have to think. Once you get past the increases at the beginning here, you don't have to think. And this is the lovely colour that I'm going to pair it with. Is there a colour name on this? Oh, and this is sock yarn, by the way. It's 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. And I can't see a colour name. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to knitting with this one, which is so variegated. It's a gorgeous purple variegated, and I think it's going to go really well with the green. So I'm going to do the same that I did for my other Musselburgh hat, which was the Musselburgh, by the way, if you haven't come across it, is a design by Ysolda Teague, and it is the most amazing pattern. I mean, I know everybody says that, but I've really discovered what a wearable thing it is at the end. I mean, I think that's one of the big things now that I've come to really want out of my knitting, is something that I'm actually going to wear. And so, you know, a lot of the things that I would have been really drawn to in the past, like a lot of colour work, a lot of, you know, shawls, a lot of, I don't know, these beautiful designs that look stunning and they look great, but when you wear them, they don't necessarily fit your mood every day, or yeah, they tend to be pieces that don't get worn a lot, and even though they might be beautiful and they may suit you, but they don't get worn an awful lot. And so I'm really into this whole idea now of just knitting stuff that I know I'm definitely going to wear. And the Musselburgh hat is definitely one of those. It's just a guaranteed wearable item, and it is warm and looks great, and you know, this will be probably a little bit longer lasting, this yarn, than the last one I made with merino singles, and that's starting to pill a little bit. So hopefully this one will be a bit more hard wearing as well. And I adore this yarn company, Inspiring Yarns. I love their colours. So that's that. I'll keep plodding away at that one. And the whole idea is that for those who haven't knitted before, you just knit a long tube. So I'll be knitting to the halfway point with this colour, and then the other half, and then with this colour, and then decreasing, doing the same decreases at the end. And then you fold one half inside the other, so you can wear it either with the purple side out or with the green side out, depending on what takes your fancy. And I think that's the whole thing with clothing. It really depends on your mood, doesn't it? What you feel like you want to wear on a particular day. And I can sometimes go through several, you know, sweaters or tops or, you know, whatever outfits, and think none of them suits my mood. So yeah, so we like to keep it fairly simple. the other almost finished object, and I'm sorry, it's a pity I didn't get this finished. I could possibly could have pushed it last night, but it was getting late. So these are my beautiful magic toadstool socks, they're called, and they're by Fraochknits designs. And anybody who's been looking at the podcast, there is one from back in October. I think I did a whole episode on Fraochknits socks. And at that stage I had just knit one of each design. So I'm now finishing off the second sock of each of these pairs. And this is my magic toadstools. But I suppose one of the disadvantages of leaving a project, so this first one was knit a good while ago, and I go back to it and I knit this second one, and I realised that I think I actually didn't follow the pattern properly. I think I said, oh, I know how to knit this, it's really easy, and I've done it before. And so I don't think I went up a needle size for the mushrooms, for the colourwork section, thinking, oh sure, my colourwork is grand, it'll be loose enough. But I realised that even though they seem quite big on, this is the proper one that followed the pattern, and the mushroom colourwork section does seem quite large, but actually you do really need that to get it over your heel. To get the colourwork around the heel comfortably. I mean, I can actually get this on my foot, but it's just not as easy to get it on. So that's a lesson learned, maybe not to spread out your sock knitting too long, or any project really. You sort of lose track of where you are. And sometimes I think, oh sure, I don't even need to look at the pattern. I know I've done this before, I just need to know the stitch count, and then I just follow the colourwork chart. But I just didn't. I mean, those Fraochknits patterns are so well written because they really do take into consideration all those things, that the fact that the colourwork, regardless of how well you knit it, or say, not that it's, I mean, it's not how well you knit it, regardless of what tension you knit it at, you know, even if you have a loose tension in colourwork, you sort of still do need to follow her advice on, you know, going up a needle size, or adding a few stitches, or just making it slightly bigger to allow it to go over the heel of your foot. And possibly also as well with the small circumference needle, it might be, my tension might be a bit tighter actually. I'm not sure. So as you can see, I've got to this point where my stitches are actually ripping out. I'm just realising because I put it onto the sock blocker. I was actually going to rip back anyway, just to start the toe again, because actually I need to change to magic loop. That's why this is stalled actually, because I was too lazy to get up and find the right needle when I was getting to the end of it. Anyway, they are a fabulous pair of socks. I absolutely adore them, and really looking forward to having this one finished, so that I can wear these ones and not just look at the nice pretty pattern. I highly recommend those. So I wanted to briefly talk about, what was I going to say next? I think it was about my future plans. So my future plans are this, I'm just going to show it briefly again because you've seen it before, my Karibou sweater, and I knit this before Christmas and was disappointed to find that it's actually just a little bit too tight on the small side, and I then decided to pick it up again and thought, well look, I'll split for the sleeves and try it on with the sleeves. So I did knit a little bit further down and did try it on again to see, was I just imagining it, was it being a bit too not waiting, maybe a bit too impatient to see whether it would actually fit, but I am definite now. Once I have done that, I've gone a little bit farther, I've had another look at it, I've put it on with the sleeves split, and it definitely needs to be bigger. So I'm not going to be ripping it out, as I said before, because it's made with let loafy, so it's impossible to rip out. So I'm just going to start that again. I have plenty of this beautiful yarn, which of course I've shown before, my gorgeous Plutalope. Did I say let loafy? It's Plutalope. So I've a good few plates of loads of the brown, and I have one and this partial plate, which will definitely get me through the colour work. I just adore knitting with this as well, and it's so lightweight, and I really love this design so much. I mean, every time I look at this I think, oh, I wish it fit me, because I really want to keep knitting it. I just love the these Karibou heads down here, and the name of the designer used to be the Petite Knitter, and she's changed her name to, is it Saskie and Company? Gorgeous, gorgeous designer. I absolutely adore all of her work, and every time I see a new design by her I want to knit it. So anyway, we'll carry on with that one, and that'll be good. The other plans I had were this is an old swatch of mine from I'm going to put up a picture of me wearing the Fleur shawl by the Espace Tricot, and a free design actually by Espace Tricot. I highly recommend it. Again, I used a fingering weight. These were from Hedgehog Fibres. It was a sort of a potluck 3-skein thing that she did a deal on. I mean, this was probably a year and a half ago, and I didn't really know what to do with the colours. They weren't really mine, but anyway, I used them in this shawl, and I knit a beautiful peachy coloured shawl, which wasn't sure about the colour, but actually I wore it all the time. So it's mad to think that that was something knit with yarn that the reason I'm not showing it to you now, by the way, is that I lost it. So I actually lost that shawl when we were in Culture on the trip there or back or somewhere. I don't know whether I left it in an airport or in a bar or restaurant or something, but I lost it, and so I'm really sad and I have to replace it. But just the mad thing is that the randomness, I suppose, of our creativity and our knitting is that sometimes we'll knit something, we'll pick a design that we really, really love and knit it with yarn that we've chosen specially or bought specially for that design, and then put it together, and maybe it's not the favourite thing or we don't pick it out all the time. Whereas this shawl was knit with yarn that I had bought as a potluck and wasn't too happy, wouldn't have picked the yarns. And when I loved the pattern though, I have to say that was definitely something that I thought was going to be beautiful. But when I put this together, and then even when I put it on, I thought, oh, that peachy colour isn't really me. But it really grew on me, and I began to wear it more and more, and it just became my go-to shawl, actually, of all the shawls that I've knit. And of course I've lost it. So that's what happens with things that you really love, I think. They end up maybe being the things that are more vulnerable to being mislaid. Mind you, I don't know how the hell I mislaid it. A huge, thick, big shawl, really, when you think about it. Anyway, it's gone. I'm definitely looking on the lookout for yarns for replacement, and I did start a swatch actually with the yarns that I'm using now for the Soldotna crop, those blues and pinks, and I started a swatch, and it wasn't working out. I think really the reason is that they're too contrasting with this shawl. This is with these yarns, they were all pretty similar. They blended into each other, and I think that's really the secret that in that shawl is to have the same colours, even though there are two versions of the pattern. One is for a contrasting stripe through, basically it's a triangular shawl with bobbles and rows, sort of stripes with bobbles, and it's just stunning. And the pattern does actually call for a mix of merino or a fingering weight yarn and a silk mohair in what's this stitch called? Oh my god, I've forgotten the name of the stitch. Anyway, it's a shawl type of stitch. You all know what it is. It's not coming to my head. Yeah, so it's this loose gauge in this beautiful fabric, and it just creates such warmth and so easy to wear. I think that's what it is. It's so lightweight, so easy to wear. It doesn't feel like it's choking you. It doesn't feel like it's too heavy. It's just a ball of air, of warm air around your neck. So gorgeous. So definitely want to knit another one of those in the same fabric, the same yarns, but different colours, whatever I come across. So that's really it. The last thing I want to show you is my finished object, and this is my prized, or actually it's not mine, it's Ruben's emotional support chicken. I knit this for Ruben in January, I think it was, and he absolutely adores it, and I adore it too. So I had been seeing lots of examples of this on lots of podcasts and never really thought I'd knit one. And then, because I'm so into knitting garments that I love the idea of knitting soft toys and squishies, but I never really get around to it because I'm always caught up in other projects. But it was Ruben who requested one when he saw me watching a podcast with an emotional support chicken. So I thought, oh, obviously if your child requests for you to knit something, you drop everything and you dive in. And anyway, it was easy to knit. It was also using up yarn that I've had in my stash from a good while ago, from probably 3 years ago now, when I was in Bormio in the north of Italy on a skiing holiday way back in 2023. Yeah, it's 2023, January 23. And I bought this gorgeous yarn in a haberdashery yarn shop there. It was a local yarn, and it's a really heavy sort of. It's, I think, probably almost bulky. Sort of, it's a cross between iron and bulky weight. So I never found a project for it, and I thought, oh my god, it's ideal for a chicken. And then these pieces, which I forget the names of, and the beak are made from Letlopi, and then I bought the eyes in a local shop, and that's it. And I put the white underneath as well, but it's such a clever design. It's so simple, and I really found the pattern easy to follow. I know some people found it difficult, but I thought it was very straightforward, to be honest. I mean, it was written in a different way to the normal way maybe patterns are written, but I have to say I found it very sort of logical and easy to follow. And then I stuffed it with stuffing that I had here at home, which is synthetic, but I just had it in the cupboard, and I thought I'd use that up. And yeah, we both love it. Ruben loves it and I love it, but it's his, so he gets to cuddle it more than I do. But I highly recommend the pattern. It's brilliant. It's a really, really good pattern, and very quick knit. It doesn't take long at all, and very easy to follow. So, and the video is brilliant. So she has a video with it. So yeah, who designed this? Knitting Tree LA is the name of the designer, and I can't remember her actual name, but she's on Ravelry, and great pattern. Highly recommend. So that's it for the knitting portion, I think, today. Can you believe it? That's all my knitting. I was going to do one last thing, in the knitting sphere. The emotional support chicken has come back to Ruben there. He's cuddling away in the background. So, and it's one of my long-standing works in progress. And as you know, I've been trying to sort of finalise these and either frog them or not. And obviously, as I said, I'm not frogging this, but I wanted to tell you what I am going to do with it. And I am just waiting to finish my the Soldotna crop, because as you can see in this final colour here, I'm using the Rama garn, the navy, and the purple thread is the Purple Rain silk mohair. And I am deciding that I am just going to completely finish off, immediately finish the shawl with. Once the Soldotna crop is finished, I'll have plenty of that yarn left over, and I'll do a final border. I can't remember exactly, what the pattern calls for in terms of a border here, but I will be doing something similar. And as you can tell, my border is slightly different. It's not the dense flowers. I decided I had knit one in green, and then I decided I would re-knit it. I didn't like the colour change, and so I'm just going to leave it the way it is with two flowers here. And so I think I was being stalled the whole time by not knowing how to finish it, because it's slightly different to the pattern. But in the end I was running out of pink yarn, I'm running out of navy, Rama garn, that's all I have left, and I'm just going to finish it off. I'm going to cut those last few flowers at that point, which I think is sort of what happens with the pattern anyway. And I can't wait to have this as a project, finished off the needles, get my needles back, get all my lovely markers back, and get to wear this, because I just adore the fabric, even though I don't think I'm ever going to do a mosaic pattern again, because it took too long. It was just really slow, as you know, with mosaic, you're doing 2 rows for every 1 row of knitting that you actually get. So it's really, really tedious, I have to say. It's how I found mosaic knitting in the end. And I know people have done all sorts of things with this. There's a cardigan and a hat, I think, and I think I heard there were socks. So I might, you never know, I might be tempted to do a sock version of it. I don't think I'd do the hat, and I definitely won't do anything like a garment because it's just so slow. Or maybe in a few years' time when I don't know, I might come back to it. But it was interesting. It's my first mosaic pattern. I have a lot of ends to weave in because of all the different colour changes, so that's going to be fun too. But anyway, I just wanted to finish that off and let you know what I was doing with that. So they're all my projects, and they're my plans for dealing with whips. And I think after that I will be cleared out of works in progress, as in long-standing works in progress that are stalled and aren't moving forward for whatever reason. That can happen very easily. So that's it. Hi again, everyone. So today in this podcast I'm going to be talking to you about, for the Irish cultural section, I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the study of Irish food history, or at least looking at the history of what Irish people would have eaten in the past. And this is the inspiration for this has come from my lovely sister Niamh, who gave me an amazing book for my birthday, and this is the book here. I hope it's in focus there. It's called Irish Food History, a Companion, and it's a series of essays edited by Máirtín and Dorothy Cashman. It is a tome, as you can see, and I am really enjoying starting to delve into it, because each part of it is an academic essay. It's very easy to dip in and out of, and you can just pick on a topic that you find interesting and read through that, and it's very readable. Even though they are academic studies, but very, very approachable, accessible, readable, and it's really fantastic that we have this. This is as Darina Allen, who is a very famous member of the Irish, I suppose, food, what would you say, our food culture. Darina Allen is part of Ballymaloe Cookery School in East Cork, and is a well-known television personality, is an amazing cook and writer of recipes, or presenter of books, or a publisher of cookery books, is part of that whole dynasty down in Ballymaloe, and she has given her, she's endorsed this, calling it a landmark publication. So if Darina Allen says that, it certainly is a really, really brilliant book. I have picked out an essay, I suppose, to delve into and look at, and it was written by Colin McInerney, who is the main editor, and Donald O'Brien, and they're both academics. Anyhow, their essay is 72 Words for Potato, is the name of it. Now, there is so much in this essay that I'm not going to talk to you about, that I will look at in another podcast, because they go into the references to the potato in Irish history and Irish folklore, and it is just huge. It's a huge topic, and I definitely want to sort of break it down and summarise that for another podcast, but there's so much in it. What I wanted to just look at today was really another source for information that we have, that our diets in Ireland, our food, what we ate, was so broad and so nutritious, and not just the potato, for which we've become known and which we all still absolutely love. He sort of starts off the essay by saying, well, look, there is this sort of myth that the Irish don't have a food culture, because obviously we're not like the French. The French obviously have a food culture. The Italians obviously have a rich history and tradition of food. And, you know, to look at Ireland, it's only really recently that we have sort of retrieved and revived our food culture, our strong food culture, through the likes of Ballymaloo Cookery School and all of that the amazing, you know, sort of development of Irish food that has come out of that, which is locally produced, really good products, really good beef and dairy products, particularly Irish butter, Irish cheese. All of these things are absolutely fantastic now. There definitely always has been that tradition, but it was sort of quashed by the whole colonial project, as Colin McInerney calls it. And one of the things that dispels that myth is if you start looking at our history through the Irish language, or you start looking at Irish sources of information, which were never used, which were generally speaking haven't been used in terms of the research into the history of Irish food, or Irish food culture. Yeah, so what I'm going to look at now briefly for you guys is to just look at the source of place names. So place names in Ireland are a fascinating thing because they are an anglicisation generally of the original Irish form of the word or the place name. 90% of them are they're from an Irish source. They are Irish names, and the other 10% are a mix of other sources. So one of them actually is Scandinavian. We have a lot of, because of our the Viking past, we have Norwegian and Norse, at least Norse, Danish, Norwegian influences on some of our place names, which I'm going to talk to you about at the end. But 90% of our place names are Irish, and in the 1830s, during the 1830s, when the then government at the time, the British would have been here doing their ordnance survey they created these incredible maps which are such a huge source of information historically for us. You know, and they're so well made and so well put together, and so much information was gathered that wasn't actually even put on the maps. There's so many letters, ordnance survey letters. So, but this time anyhow, the 1830s, 1840s was the first edition of the ordnance survey maps, and during that time they translated all of the names into English, all of the Irish place names. They didn't translate them, they actually anglicised, so they made nonsensical words essentially out of the place names that mean nothing unless you understand the original Irish word that they come from. And there is a play by the very famous Irish playwright Brian Friel, which deals with this topic. It's called Translations, and it's absolutely brilliant if you ever get a chance to see it. Or if you read the screenplay, it's just a brilliant piece of writing, and it really delves into this whole, awful anglicisation of our place names. So one of the things that Máirtín McInerney does in this essay is he talks about the evidence for food in our place names. And so I thought, even going back farther than that, I mean, there's evidence. He mentions a few things just apart from the place names. We'll get to that in a minute. But he talks about there are bones that are 33,000 years old, which have been found in a cave, I think in Cork somewhere, and they show evidence of that they've been butchered, that they've been, obviously that the meat was taken and used and eaten by human beings, by humans, and that meat was venison, was deer, reindeer. From 12,000 years ago, there's evidence of more bones have been discovered. So the whole archaeological scene is really picking up on this as well, and they show that those 12,000-year-old bones show that we were eating brown bear at the time in Ireland. So I mean, that's going way back, but there is a whole culinary tradition that really existed, a rich tradition that existed all the way up until really around the 1600s, which was when the time that Ireland really began to be colonised, from about 1600 on, and it became really the Irish language starts to be eroded from that time, according to the author of the essay as well, from about 1601, the Battle of Kinsale, and 1607, the Flight of the Earls. These moments in history were really the start of the beginning of the end for the Irish language, and then the Catholic Church rolled out the primary school system in Ireland in the 1830s, and the schools were English speaking. So the Catholic Church, contributed to, even though I suppose their mission was to look after the poor and to educate the poor, which was a laudable and noble sort of aim. But unfortunately, they sort of had a hand in acting with government to quash the Irish language. So, but anyhow, we're here now with a great revival happening in the language, and the amount of information that it has to tell us about our culture and our past is phenomenal. And I just thought, I'd let you know a couple of the foodstuffs that are embedded in our place names. And the author says that an analysis of Irish place names, which is coined gastrotopography, in case you hadn't heard that term before. So this analysis has unearthed a diet which included wild garlic, honey, grouse, game, white meats, which are bon via in the Irish. So white meat is a milk or buttermilk or curds. You had eels, oats, rye, gruel, watercress, apples, hazelnuts, bilberries or frockenberries as my mum used to call them, sorrel, tansy and edible seaweed, and all of this prior to the arrival of the potato. So potatoes didn't reach here till, I couldn't get a definite date for that, but it was probably around the, I think it's the 1500s or the 1600s that the potato arrived. That's for the next podcast. We'll be looking into the potato. So the place names, then I'll just give you a flavour of them, of the ones that give us an insight. So you have Killimey in County Laois, is derived from Kildeama, which is the wood or woodland of butter. Im is the word for butter. Clooncraff in Offaly is wild garlic is crav. Clooncraff, so Cloon is a meadow. The meadow of the wild garlic is Clooncraff. So if you came to Ireland and you saw a road sign in Offaly, County Offaly, with Clooncraff on it, it doesn't make any sense. That's an anglicisation of Clooncraff, this beautiful poetic vision of a meadow full of wild garlic. Honey then is meal and Clún Mala, so the genitive that turns to Mala, and that's Clonmel in County Tipperary, well known big town in Tip, and that is the meadow of honey. Then you have Dua Violra. Biolar is watercress, so that's Duvilra in County Mayo. I don't know where that is in County Mayo. Must be a small place. So that's the place of watercress. And then you have Arver is corn, and Corn Market. It's a famous location in Dublin City, and that is Marga on Arver, so is the market of corn. So corn was a big foodstuff. Apples then Oul, Ballia on Oulord, which is Orchardstown, the town of the orchard. Wild tansy Bruscon, Bélahan and Ruskin is Bellana Briscon, also a place name in County Mayo. Quair, which are berries, Quilnaguer or Kilnagear, Monaghan. And also Mayo, there's a Kilnagear in Mayo as well. Knuck on Vanya is Banya milk, Knock Avani. So Knuck and Banya becomes Knock Avani, Galway. In terms of meat, then you have deer, rabbits and hare. So deer is Fia, is Dúnavia, which becomes Dernavay in Antrim. Cuneen is a rabbit. Drum Cuneen, Drum Cunyon in Monaghan. Gurry, Gertzna Gurriha, Harefields, County Mayo. Poultry, then you have Kiark, Nikiarka, or Carks is the name in English, so it's Nikiarka. Kiark is a hen. Clún Nikiark, Clun na Garc, County Galway. Gay, Gurtan, Gay, Gurta, Gay, Tipperary. Gay is a word for goose. Crower is a woodcock. Munya Crower, Bunna Crower, Mayo. So, you know, these are, anglicizations which, you know, the meaning is lost unless you go back and look at the Irish, and all of these refer to foodstuffs. There's further ones then with sheep, Quaira, Glannaguaire, Glenageary, County Dublin, Gower, Bunyan and Gower, Goatstown, Dublin, Manon, Ballion ni Venon, Ballyminnon, Dublin, Clontarf is a famous one, Clontarf in Dublin. So Tarf is a bull. Ahnamo or Anamo in Wicklow, Bow is a word for cow. And that brings us back to the word for a road in Irish is Boher. Bow is a cow, Boher is a place that you would drive your cows along, Boher. And I think everybody, particularly in the States, has heard the word Boreen. Boreen is an anglicisation of the Irish word for little road. Boreen, een is little. Boreen, so that means a little road that you would drive your cattle down. So that's the word, how prevalent cows were, and how meat was a big thing. We would have eaten beef. And then even the words for, I didn't know this until I listened to or read the Máirtín Iomaire, and he refers to the fact that the words for girl and boy, Buchel and Colleen has become anglicised to Colleen. It's a very common name, girl's name, but Buchel is a cow herder and Colleen is a little herder. So the Buchel, the Bochel, Bua, is the first part of the boy, is the bow, the cow, and Chal is the herder, and Colleen then, Cal, is the little herder. That's absolutely fascinating. That's something that I didn't know at all, and I'll put these words on the screen. Hopefully they'll be easier for you to follow my pronunciation of them. So that is a little sort of a snippet of how place names are a source of our understanding of the richness of Irish food culture. And it's a place that he starts, and he talks a lot about the potato, which I'll go into hopefully in the next podcast. And then I just wanted to go into the briefly, because these are so interesting to me, the Norse place names in Ireland, which is separate now to food culture, although actually one of them does mention, a couple of them do mention food actually. The Scandinavian place names would be Leixlip is one of them, and this is from Norse Lax Helop, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and the Irish for that is Lame and Vradon. The leap, lame is the leap of the salmon, and Vradon, so Leixlip, the leap of the salmon. And I always remember as a child we had relations in Dublin, and we lived in Westmeath and down the country, and we used to drive up and down a lot, and we would always pass through Leixlip on our way. And I remember always passing this place called Leixlip and seeing the name of the pub at the bridge is called the Salmon Leap Inn, and so I always knew that Leixlip meant the Salmon Leap. So that's fascinating that it's a Norse name that's remained. Another one is Smerrick Harbour. Apparently Smerrick comes from Smjórig, which means Butter Bay in Norse, and then Fingal is another one. Finnegal, or territory of the foreigners or the Norwegian Vikings. And then this last one is really interesting for me because it's Baldoyle, which is a well-known place in North County Dublin, I think. Ballia, it's Ballydoyle, it's the town. Ballia is the town, and Doyle is the Irish for Doyle, which is my surname. And Dougal can be broken down into Dougal. Do is dark or black, dark, and Gal are foreigners, people invaders basically. So we were the dark foreigners, and apparently they're the Danish Vikings, the Dugals, the Duels, which is my name. So obviously I have Danish Viking blood going way back in my ancestry. But there you go. There's a few place names that are Norse in connection. Another one is Ireland's Eye, from the Norse Eye meaning island, which is a small island on the east coast, north of Dublin city, in North County Dublin. So anyhow, they're the fascinating look at how much our language, our native language, can tell us about our culture. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching the podcast. It's been such a pleasure to be with you, and thank you for joining me in the Irish cultural section, look at Irish food history, and I hope next time we'll be looking at more of that. If you'd like to let me know in the comments below, or if you know of any other place names in Ireland that have a food connection that I don't know about, it would be lovely to hear that. And yeah, so thanks for watching. I hope you're all doing really well, and I hope you're really enjoying and getting the benefit out of your crafting, whatever that is, whether it's knitting or sewing or crochet or needle work of embroidery or whatever it is you're doing. I know they bring me such joy and such absolute satisfaction and fulfillment, and I just don't know where I'd be without them, and I just love being able to show all of you the work that I've done and to share the information about modifications to patterns and all that sort of thing. So thank you so much for being with me, and I hope to see you all again soon for the next podcast. Okay, thanks very much now. Bye, and take care of yourselves. See you then. Bye now.
Don't be a stranger in the night. Take a chance for some romance. Don't cover your eyes. Willow trees know you better than anyone else. It's time you let your guard down. For someone like me, I'd say I'm settled and pretty calm. I don't storm in the storm. If not me, then someone like me that knows what to do and how to take care of you. But most of all, that deserves you. The sweetest red cheese I'd ever seen. You stand beside me in every dream. Angel goddess, you cover them all. Say, what can I do to get you to fall? For someone like me, I'd say I'm settled and a pretty cold. Don't storm in the storm. If not me, then someone like me that knows what to do and how to take care of you. But most of all, that deserves you. It's most of all that deserves you. It's crucial that he deserves you. That he deserves you. Go with someone like me. I'd say I'm settled and a pretty calm. I don't storm in the storm, no. Not me, then someone